Hey y'all, I have hit 500 followers on Gamejolt and nearly 600 here on YouTube. Yeah. And as a result, I would actually like to host a Draw This in Your style. Now, this is usually like an Instagram kind of thing, but I wanted to just go ahead and just take this over to Gamejolt because Instagram's not really, my thing. If you're not familiar with Gamejolt, it's a pretty old website actually. I think it's over 10 years old, and a lot of people who really enjoy video games hang out there. Do keep in mind though that a lot of them are kiddos, so you need to make sure you behave yourself if you join me there. But it's been a pretty pleasant website. It's no Blue Sky, of course. There's a lot of interesting things going on Blue Sky, I suppose. And, of course, I'm not, sponsored or anything by Gamejolt. I'm not even big enough to be sponsored by anybody, I don't think. But I just wanted to make sure that, I made that disclaimer because, I don't know, I just really like the website. It's got fun backgrounds you can put on your posts. People can put stickers on your artwork and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. Now, as for the artwork that's going on in the background here, I previously sketched out a pose that I used I believe from pexels.com, also not sponsored. So I sketched that out in Clip Studio Paint, and then I pulled it over to a sprite and shrank it way down, and then I'm just throwing some quick lines over it, just to get a rough idea of what I want there. There will be a link in the description if you would like to join the Draw This in Your Style activity. There's really no prizes or anything, it's just for fun. But after a set amount of time, I will be setting up a post where I'm sharing everybody's artwork, and they will have credits in the, they have little, so there's the main post, and then there's an article you can add to it. The credits will be in the article, and they'll have all links to their profiles. It should be pretty fun. Now, the face of my sketch here is going to get kind of wonky. It's going to look a little funny, but just trust the process here. I know she's looking more like I guess a monkey or a chimpanzee right now, but, we'll get to it. I also forgot to save this as an A-sprite file, and when I came back to it later to continue drawing on it, I had to redo all this little line art stuff, but I went ahead and added more detail while I was at it. I'll eventually correct things. The preview box over there on the left isn't really set up properly at the moment. I will be correcting that. I know it's not centered, just have patience. So this character I'm drawing is named Aurora. She is a cat witch. She's a very basic design, just, your standard white cat. She has amber-colored eyes, and she typically wears a purple dress that's shorter than this. She is inspired by Kiki's delivery service, in that her simplicity of her outfit, and she does run around and deliver things and whatnot around town, and goes on little mini adventures and, stuff like that. I don't have her super planned out. She's just like a fun little character I just like to doodle here and there. I do struggle with putting hats on characters correctly, I think. That will be something that I will work on over time, but, for now, this is just something fun that I just wanted to draw. I can always practice anytime. Sometimes you just make something that makes you happy in the moment. I do worry that these videos do end up really slow because I tend to leave them in real time, because it was actually suggested by a few people when I first started posting again on this channel, and I was worried about, it not being fast-paced enough because, well, you know what they say about people's attention spans these days? But I did find out that some of y'all are actually following along and drawing a character alongside me and doing things pixel for pixel, and I'm happy to help with that. It can be really hard to get started when you're not sure what to do, and pixel art feels like one of those things that you have to be so precise that it can be really intimidating and you feel like you're just not doing things right, you know? But the reality of it is that there are a lot of rules for, proper pixel art, and there are pixel art purists out there that get very, I guess, picky about how things look and how things are done. But the reality of it all is that in the end, it is your art. You can do what you want. Some people scribble in their pixel art, and, while it doesn't fit the definition of, purposely or purposefully placed pixels, it still has the look, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't look at Minecraft grass and go, well, that's just, I don't know, spray paint art. And it kind of is. It's just like, it's just random green colors all thrown together on a block. But most people, most kids are like, oh yeah, that's pixel art, right? It might not be super technical, and it's not the most beautiful way to do things with pixels, but it got the job done. As I'm sitting here editing this, I am really hating the shape of the face, but honestly, it's really not that far off from, say, like Pink Panther. I mean, Pink Panther definitely had a larger nose and everything, but, you know. So I'm adding like little cheek floofs. That's like one of my favorite things to do, especially with like kitty characters. I do it to some other characters as well. I have a donkey character that I don't do that to because she is very short-haired. She just doesn't have the face floofs, bleh. And she also doesn't get the ear floofs that I added to this one because, well, she's a donkey. She just doesn't really have that. Real life donkeys, I have not seen one in person in, goodness, I think it's been 20 years. Maybe they do have hair there. Most animals do have some hair in their ears. But I just didn't like that look for her. But for my cat, and occasionally bunnies, it depends, ear floofs, for sure. Same thing with cheek floofs. And dog breeds, depends on the breed. Some of them I might give floofs, some not. If I'm drawing a German Shepherd, it's going to give floofs. If it's a pug, probably not. Normally, when I do these videos, I also like to detail what I'm doing in the moment, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like there's a lot to explain that's going on. Now, this spot, though, I needed to actually lower the body a little bit because she was really lacking an area for a neck. It is kind of like is it chibi or chibi? I have no idea. I've heard both. But, she's not a normally proportioned character. So, does she have a neck? Psh, I don't know. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't, depending on how I draw her, probably. Just to, like, change the topic ever so slightly, I suppose. I was thinking, I think that one of my favorite things to do with pixel art itself is just to make little illustrations with it. I like just drawing characters existing and stuff like that. It really makes me happy. But I know that when people see pixel art, their first thought is, hey, are you gonna make a game or anything like that? And I honestly would love to make a game. I'm actually working with my partner and hoping to maybe one day get there. But for the time being, I'm just vibing and drawing what makes me happy and practicing my skills, where nobody's looking and everything. If I truly want to make game art, I feel like I do need to learn some animation. And I do lack in that. I can make a very simple, like, walk cycle for a small sprite, like 32 and 32 and below. But I just feel like sometimes when people see a pixel artist, they expect us to be a jack of all trades, I suppose. Or technically, I would be a Jill of all trades, but I digress on that one. I would also like to take this moment to point out that I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with fabric. I would not use this as a good example of how to handle somebody holding part of their dress up like this. Definitely go find some references. It'll do you a favor to do that. That's definitely another thing that I also need to work on. And, you know, it's good when you recognize your weaknesses, but when you're showing them off, you're like, yeah, maybe I should talk about that. So this shift to blue palette that I'm using is one that I just kind of threw together. It's one that I default to a lot, but sometimes I deviate away from it depending, you know. Different art pieces might require some different color combos, etc. I'll actually drop this particular palette in the description if you would like to have a copy of it just to play with. It's nothing like spectacular or anything, it's just, you know, I like it. My line art tends to get kind of lazy. There's a few areas that I would go back and correct personally at this point, but it's what it is. Maybe I do correct some of the things in this video while I'm coloring, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to skip to the coloring part, but honestly, you gotta do the work. It's good for you, and it helps with the learning process, and, you know, all that fun stuff. Once I get my base colors in here, I need to decide where my light sources are going to come from, and then work from there. If you are not familiar with shading, I definitely suggest looking into some basic shading tutorials. They usually suggest starting with things like a ball to get an idea on things, but that is very, very basic. To be able to shade a character like this, I've used a combination of learning how to shade people in different lightings, and then also how to shade cats in different lightings as well. Definitely need to do some studying, and of course, you know, there's probably something wrong with my shades and highlights here. I don't doubt that at all. Sometimes I look like I know what I'm doing, but honestly, it's all just being confident. Just pretend you're a flat earther, you know? They're confident as hell, even though they're wrong. A lot of the time, I want to use my blues over there when I'm shading white, but I wanted to use more warm colors for my shading, so you're going to see me turn to some, I guess, is it really pink? I'm not even sure if it really counts as a lavender, but, you know, there's a pinkish purple shade or two that I'm going to use for it. Of course, this is after tweaking my facial anatomy, again. In the long run, I'm still questioning myself on how I did it, but, you know, it's all in practice and, you know, getting things done, how to put it. You want to fail fast and fail often. Just do the thing, get it done, and you'll get better naturally over time. And it's for that reason I try to finish all of my artworks if I can, even if I absolutely hate how they're coming out. Finishing it is still good for me, and I don't have to show anybody the ugly stuff I made either. This might be a bad habit, but regardless of how I do my shading, my eyes always look the same. I have the lightest color on the bottom and then the darker color up top. I just like it that way. There are probably going to come situations where I need to change how that goes, but for right now, it's fine. By the way, if that stray pixel over there on the right side of the hat has been annoying you this whole time, like it has me, I do get to it eventually, don't worry. Believe it or not, eyebrows are kind of important to show facial expression. I forget them kind of easily. It's a little absurd. I didn't want the tail to be 100% in shadow, so I do eventually start making some changes to it and adding areas where I would like the light to be shining. I just didn't like how flat it looked. So, my personal drawing style is always developing, and I never know if I want to do 3 fingers or 4 fingers on the hands. You'll see me change that up frequently, I think. One of these days, I'll just decide which one I prefer and stick to it consistently, but now's not the time. I've got to be careful not to go crazy with dithering because, she has fur and I don't want it to look. I'm not sure what the word is, but I'm just going to try to imply that there's fur rather than, do the standard dithering practice. I have no specific, rhythm to doing the fur impressions. I just kind of think to myself, what direction is the fur going? And that's where I put the little rectangles. It about sums it up. Now, if the fur is, really short or something, maybe I'll do more traditional, pixel by pixel dithering, but I think that the little rectangles are the best bet for this right now. I was definitely struggling to decide how far I wanted the highlights to reach there on the face and where I wanted the shadows to be exactly. And then I suddenly remembered, yeah, I should probably shade where the hat is. I definitely remember being surprised that I forgot about that spot. Trying to imagine where the shadows and highlights should be on a character that would never exist in real life can be quite difficult. Sometimes you just try things, see if you like it, and try not to second guess yourself too much, and just hope for the best. And I'm just trying to make the fabric look more interesting and less flat, I suppose. Whatever it is I'm doing it. You'll also catch me trying to fix my line art a little bit here and there. I'm adding just a touch of like highlights to the boots just to keep things from looking too flat. Actually, on that note, I do believe I'm going to make a darker color to add to this as well. Yep, there I go. I think it was a good decision personally. Let me know what you think. Would you have done that? I don't know. Now over here, I'm not satisfied with how the ear is looking with the hat and everything. I'm trying to imagine how it should look coming out of the head, and then like, you know, how the hat should be sitting with it, because there's going to be ear holes on this thing, right? I really do appreciate that with the digital art, I can just, you know, use the lasso tool on a spot and readjust it like I do, because with traditional, I would have to do so much more work to get this to work out. That being said, I'd still like to work a little bit more with traditional mediums. They just seem like a lot of fun. Now, my hat was looking kind of plain, and I realized that a lot of times there's like a little belt or like a ribbon or something on a certain spot. You know what I'm talking about? So I do end up adding that just to make it look a little more visually interesting. As for the background, um, I remember that I like doing this little. You'll see what happens here, but it's almost like a plaid, or maybe not gingham, but or buffalo check. But anyway, like I kind of like those kind of patterns like a lot, and it's like, I really should use them more in my backgrounds. I used to use them in some of my YouTube thumbnails as well. I don't know, I just think they're really cool. Or maybe cute is the better word. I just like them a lot. There's probably a particular formula to doing that kind of background that works, but honestly, I just kind of winged it and went with what felt good, and when I was happy with it, I just left it be. I'm also going to add some like little areas where they're overlapping each other and stuff, just to kind of give it a, I guess like a weaved in kind of effect. If you made it this far, like, congratulations, this was a long one. So, if you have a favorite movie or video game series, any kind of media that inspire you and help you create characters, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I'd really like to hear about it. Personally, I think I need to consume more movies and whatnot. I haven't really been watching a lot of things besides maybe YouTube a little bit here and there, and by a little bit, probably too much. But it's good to consume some good stories. Sometimes they're feel-good stories, sometimes they make you feel really bad. Stuff like that. They can be great for creativity, and I think we all could use that a little bit more instead of, typing away and reading up on social media. I also can't be bothered to really put a proper shadow in here, so I do one of those lazy circle cartoon shadows. You know what I'm talking about? It got the job done. I was satisfied with it. While I play with these outlines that I will not be keeping, I wanted to say thank you for sticking around and watching the video. I appreciate the time that you've put in and everything, because I've put a lot of time into this too, one way or another. And a lot of the watch time that a lot of you guys put in on my videos really helps me stay motivated. It tells me that at least maybe I'm helping somebody else do some art, or, I don't know. I'm having a good time. Hopefully you are too. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and take care.